There we go. Awesome. Okay. I wanted y'all to say, have y'all seen that video before?
Yeah.
I learned recently Mr. Beast is like generally the most popular guy on YouTube ever, which is pretty amazing. I've not watched many of his videos, but that's interesting enough. If you've never seen that before, though, that's how basically, especially food commercials, that's how they all work. Rarely is it actual food. It's usually like really nicely painted styrofoam, or sometimes use actual Play-Doh, and they can mold it and craft it to where it looks awesome, but if you ate it, it would feel terrible. As opposed to when you walk into an actual Burger King, what they hand you probably looks really gross, but generally speaking, Burger King's not bad, right? So that's true. Again, maybe not every restaurant in the world, but lots of those restaurants, how they do it. I want you to hold that thought, because that very much plays into what we're talking about tonight. Okay, got a lot of questions. And I'm not going to necessarily answer all the questions right here because the lesson covers it, but I wanted to let you know the questions we're thinking about. Tonight's lesson, it's the first part of what I like to call the other stuff. And then we're just going to cover up just a gauntlet of, I don't want to use the phrase weird sexual stuff, but maybe this stuff you're not accustomed to hearing. Like tonight, we're going to talk about porn. Okay? Which is super awkward, I know, although it probably is not as awkward as when I dropped that masturbation word last week, right? But still, porn will be a little bit awkward. We're also going to talk about sexual abuse tonight. There's nothing funny about that. I don't want to say it's awkward, it's just really, really heartbreaking, but we have to talk about that. That all being said, here's some questions that were asked this week, or just in the last couple weeks, and most of our lessons can answer them, okay? So this first one, this is a good question. Is it sexually immoral if you were sexually assaulted, but you were head over heels for the person at the time? I really like that question because it's really, really honest. I'm going to answer it really, really quickly here. The lesson to get more into this, but no, it is not sexually immoral for you to have been sexually assaulted, regardless of what you were thinking or feeling at the time. When somebody forces himself on you, that's always wrong. It's always a sin. So hold on to that thought. We're going to come back to that more later on, okay? Say the act of sex and your innocence was stolen from you. How do you understand that it's not my fault? And how do I not feel guilty when talking about sex? So this is kind of the same thing here. Again, when something is taken from you, that's never your fault. All right? Regardless of where you were or what you were wearing or any of those things. If someone forces himself on you, and it doesn't necessarily have to just apply to sex. Like if you get robbed, it's not your fault. Are there things that you can do maybe to lower the opportunity for you to be robbed or harmed or whatever? Sure. But it's never your fault, okay? As far as the guilt thing, though, and we will get to more of this later on, that absolutely has to be with just God working in your heart and you understanding, number one, that truth that this isn't your fault, and number two, understanding what the devil loves to do in those situations. That guilt's not coming from God, though, I promise. It's absolutely the enemy trying to jack with your head, okay? So these next couple questions might sound odd, but again, they're really good, they're really honest. I'm going to edit one of them, all right? When having sex, is it wrong to punish the woman? Is it better to have vanilla sex while focusing on a love connection, or is fun and wild sexual activities permitted in the bonds of holy marriage? The other question, I'm going to edit it dramatically. This is the one that I told you about initially, okay? Is it a sin to be violent to a woman in bed? Okay, so the lesson very much covers these questions. I appreciate your honesty. Didn't necessarily like the way the questions were worded. Those are very honest questions. The answer is yes. It's sin to be violent, period. But we'll get more into that here in a little bit. Okay, so let's jump in. Again, if you've got a question, I'll leave that up for just a second. If you've got another question, shoot those in. If you've got a follow-up question or something, you can use that same just page over and over again. Y'all have asked 28 questions so far. I suspect if we get everything done, the last night, at least a part of the last night, will just be kind of rapid fire, just anything I didn't cover. Most everything you've asked so far is going to play in all the lessons we've got planned out, but there'll be some oddball stuff. But anyway, keep sending your questions. Okay, here we go. Let's jump into the lesson. I'm going to do a quick review. If you're new with this and you've missed the first 4 weeks, here's some of the stuff we talked about, okay? For starters, we talked about the very first week, when we talk about sex, really, the idea of sex, most of you know, at least you should know, when we're talking about sex at church, the obvious answer is you don't do it until you're married. There's very few people that don't already know that. But when we talk about it, the goal is not just to say, hey, I was a virgin until I got married, yay me. The goal for us as believers is not just to pursue sexual purity, although that's good. It's not just to pursue virginity. The goal is we want to pursue the very good. And the very good is our relationship with Jesus. So our aim is to please him above all else. That's our goal. And so we choose to live our lives in ways that he says is pleasing. Okay? So another big theme kind of for the whole thing is since God made sex, that means he gets to make the rules. We don't necessarily always like the way he pronounces those rules, but since he's the one who made sex, not only is it his right to tell us what's right or wrong to do with it, also it's right for him to tell us what's right and wrong for us to do. What's right and wrong for us to do with our lives, because we also belong to him. He also made us. But he also knows how sex is best operated. Like there's no sexual scenario that you can dream up that's outside the will of God that's going to make it better than anything that he's already said is good at all. So since God made sex, he gets to make the rules, and he gets to be the one that calls it very good, okay? Sex being misused is not a new thing. That's why there's so many verses in the Bible about sex or sexual scenarios. Again, the Bible talks more about sex than it talks about heaven. But the only thing it doesn't talk about as much as sex is money. The Bible has a lot to say about money, which we're going to talk about money some this summer too. But that's why it gets talked about so much in the Bible, is because it is misused and abused all the time. That's why tonight's lesson is such a big deal, okay? Temples, notice I got the word temples in quotation marks. I'm not talking about temples. I'm not talking about the building. I'm talking about our bodies, right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Temples were designed for the glorification of God, not the glorification of ourselves. So yes, it is sinful for us to misuse our own bodies and also to misuse other people's bodies, not only with our hands, but also with our eyes and our thoughts. They're designed to give glory to God. So this is what I said last week. Don't be a sexual atheist. In other words, you acknowledge God in every area of your life except for this sex thing, and I'm going to do whatever I want. That makes you a sexual atheist. A sexual idolater just means that, God, I'm going to do whatever I want, including, that might just mean just self-pleasure. All right? That would make you a sexual idolater. So stay away from those things. Self-righteousness, this is just as big, guys. Self-righteousness is just as sinful as sexual morality. And I didn't make this part really, really clear, so I'll do that right now. Self-righteousness is the thought process that says, hey, because I've never done any of these sins, I'm better than all you people. God hates that attitude. God hates arrogance. In fact, the Bible says explicitly that God opposes the proud, but he exalts the humble. So there's lots and lots of people who have done insane amounts of sinful things. But God, if they come to Jesus and like, God, I'm so sorry. I've blown it in so many ways. Those are the people that God raises up. Those people that are self-righteous and arrogant, those are the ones that God flicks like a booger, man. So don't be self-righteous. If you've never done any of the things we've been talking about, awesome, praise God. But don't let it get in your head. And I say this because I fell into this trap a lot as a kid. Look at me, I'm one of the only people that never had sex in my high school. Yay me. And if my motive isn't, Lord, I'm doing this for you and you alone, if it's, I just want people to think I'm awesome, or I want people to think I'm super spiritual, that's worthless. Self-righteousness is just as sinful as sexual morality. And then the last thing, you can hear me say this even tonight, guys, Jesus is gracious. If you've messed up in the ways that we're talking about, whether it's something we haven't talked about yet or something we have talked about multiple times, there is nothing that you can or have done that Jesus can't forgive. There's nothing that you can or have done that somebody else hasn't already been forgiven by Jesus before, too. So there's nothing new under the sun, so there's no way that you're going to figure out a way to sin. Hey, this is a brand new sin. No one's ever done this before. Somebody has. And chances are exceedingly good Jesus has already forgiven that and somebody else, too. So if you're a person that's messed up in any of these ways, I do not want you to feel shameful or lowly or less of yourself. I want you to run to, we sang this a minute ago, run to Jesus, run to the Father, and seek his forgiveness because he's full of it and he loves to share it. All right, that's a review. Let's go into our new stuff. The most important sexual organ you have is your brain. Some of you weren't listening. Some of that. Your most important sexual body part is your brain. Have you ever thought that before? Have you ever heard that before? That's incredible. None of you have heard that before. The most important sexual body part on your body, rather in your body, is your brain. Your brain's amazing. I don't know if you've ever studied it or not. There are 85 billion neurons in your brain. It processes info at 260 miles an hour. That's nuts, right? Like how fast it can transfer information from brain to into your toes and back up and so on. There are 5 trillion chemical reactions in your body every single second, and your brain's the one that's running all of those processes. It's pretty awesome. It monitors and regulates your actions, both your intentional actions and then the things that you can't control, like breathing, right? You don't have to think about breathing, although you can't take over command of your body. Just does that. Your brain does that for you. Your brain also regulates the other stuff that you do too, which is really important to consider when we're talking about what we're going to. But your brain also changes depending on your actions. You have the ability to alter not just your brain waves, and this is going to sound kind of new agey, and it's not, okay? Your actions absolutely affect your brain and the way it operates on a regular basis, especially when we jump into this next topic. Check this out. This is really important. Oh, first we're going to talk about your free prefrontal cortex. I forgot about this. It's kind of fun. So, congratulations. It's not that you don't have this yet, but none of you have this fully formed yet. Kate's prefrontal cortex is just now probably fully grown. Probably. We don't know that for a fact. And because she's female, it actually tends to finish cooking faster. Most girls' prefrontal cortexes finishes around age 22 or 23. Boys, our prefrontal cortex doesn't finish growing until age 25 or 26. So your brain actually, like when your parents say, like, dude, like, what's wrong with you? You can say, I don't have a finalized prefrontal cortex, and you would not be lying, okay? Now, here's why that's a problem. Your prefrontal cortex controls a really, really important part of your brain, and that's the part of your brain that helps you assess how dangerous a situation is and how it's going to affect your future. How many of you have ever heard the phrase, teenagers do really stupid things?
Oh yeah, that's me.
Now, I would never say that about you, at least not to your faces. Okay? Yeah. How many of you have said teenagers do really stupid things? How many of you have done something really stupid? Now, you don't do stupid things because you're a teenager, but the probability of you doing something stupid because you're a teenager is substantially higher. But the reason for that is the fact that your prefrontal cortex is not done cooking. It's still growing and finalizing, and until you're fully grown there, it's not that it's impossible for you to think about your future and to be more disciplined, it's just harder for you. And so you've ever thought, like, man, why is it so hard to be disciplined? Again, it's not just because you're a teenager, but that plays in the part of it. So here's some other things going on. It controls your long-term decision making. Now here's what's crazy. We ask you at age 17, hey, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I just told you, your prefrontal cortex isn't done cooking. Like, this would be like handicapping you in a substantial way. This would be like me tying up your legs and saying, go run a mile.
I can do that later.
It's not that you can't do it. It's just going to be really, really hard. So it's kind of mean for us to say, what are you going to do for the rest of your life, Abby? Abby frequently said, I have no idea. I have no idea. And that's okay, right? But her prefrontal cortex isn't done cooking. It also affects your risk assessment. So that's why you do. A lot of you think, I'm Superman. Nothing can hurt me. It's because your brain's not done forming. It affects your social behaviors or just your behavior in general. Makes sense, right? Again, teenagers tend to do crazy stuff. Not done cooking yet. Helps you form judgments. Is that pretty important? You assessing a situation, yeah? And again, it's not done until you're usually in your mid-20s. Again, girls, it's your early 20s. Guys, generally in your mid-20s, right? So that's what your prefrontal cortex does. Watch this, though. We're not done with your brain. I want you to learn some more stuff about it. There's this wonderful little hormone in you girls called oxytocin. And it really is an amazing drug. Like in your brain, and it gets released slowly and steadily into your body on several different occasions. But it's nicknamed the love hormone. All right, and it's kind of fun. It's in both male and female brains, but it's released at different times. So for females, it's released in small doses with little things like touches and kisses. No, hang on. Some of you are going, wait a second. Like people touch me all the time. No. Like touches. This is important. Touches that you want. Okay, so little brother like patting you incessantly. That's not what we're talking about, okay? Somebody forcing a kiss on you. That's not what we're talking about. Like touches that you actually want. Your brain just squirts a little bit of oxytocin, and so it's just a little love chemical. That's a really, really cool thing. I'll say this up front so I don't forget. This is a really, really cool chemical if you're married. If you're not married, this becomes problematic. Stay with that thought as we go through some more of this, okay? Large doses of oxytocin, girls, are released into your brain when you give birth, which is kind of like, that's like the opposite of like the touch you want. Like everything about that sounds painful, right? And it is really painful. When you give birth, your brain is flooded with oxytocin. Who do you think that oxytocin is pointed towards?
The baby.
The baby. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. If you've ever seen this happen, this doesn't happen just in TV shows. There are countless women across planet Earth. I don't want to have a baby. I don't want to have a baby. I don't want to have a baby. I have the baby. I love this baby so much. And it's not because they've lost their mind. It's actually just, again, this is part of God's process. There is and it's not that he like forces this on you, but it's the way he's created you. All of a sudden, you feel this incredible love for this person that you've never met before, and this person that's like wrecked your body and caused you a substantial amount of pain. And all you can think is, I love this kid so much. This is amazing. All right? So, and on top of that, every time you breastfeed girls, oxytocin also floods your brain. So think about it in this way. Like, here's this kid, and he was born 6 months ago. He's not nearly as, maybe let's say 3 months ago. Sometimes breastfeeding is done by 6 months. 3 months ago, like the birth thing, like I'm tired and I'm frustrated and the kid won't stop crying. And then you breastfeed and all of a sudden you're reinforced with that thought pattern in your head. Remember, I love this kid. I love this kid. I love this kid. Isn't that neat? You should thank God for oxytocin, because if your moms didn't have this, they probably would have killed you all. And I would have died too. Like, I would not be here, you would not be here, and like mankind probably would have ended a long time ago, okay? The last one, though, is during sex. So every time you have sex, your blood, your brain is flooded with oxytocin. This time it's pointed at the individual that you're having sex with. Now again, it's important. This is during consensual sex. Your brain doesn't necessarily do this during rape. This is really, really important to understand. All right? But nonetheless, it's pretty cool. During sex, you get oxytocin in your brain. So it reinforces how you feel about it. Now this is kind of cool. Oxytocin causes forgetfulness. Now, this is really important. If your mom is running around, she's super forgetful, do not say to your mom, did you have sex recently? That would be super awkward, okay? For you and for her. But that forgetfulness thing is really, really handy. It's like short-term forgetfulness. So think about how, like, you know, people that have wronged you, not just in general people, like people that you love, like your children, for instance, have wronged you. And then oxytocin flows to your brain, and all of a sudden I forget how angry I was at my kid, and now I just love him. I forget how upset I was at my husband, and now I just love him. Like, that's a pretty cool thing. The last thing, again, is it forms strong emotional bond. Really strong. This is some of the strongest pair bonding that can happen in the human brain. Forms strong emotional bonds. Flip over. This is the other one. This is kind of cool. Vasopressin, this is kind of the equivalent for you boys. Vasopressin is in your brains. It's only released one time, though, and that's when you have sex. All right? And actually, I shouldn't say when you have sex. It's specifically when you ejaculate. All right? But watch this. It's the pair bonding hormone in men. It's released after ejaculation. It causes loyalty, jealousy, and a desire to protect. Now, this is pretty cool. If you are having sex with your bride, not only are you reinforced with, I care about this person, but I'm also being reinforced with, I care about this person. I want to protect this person. I'm jealous for this person. In other words, I have no desire to share this person with others. I am just filled with desire for this person. Is that a pretty cool thing to have it reinforced? Absolutely. Again, this is important, guys, in the context of marriage. Outside of the context of marriage, this gets really, really hairy. This is why if you're having sex with multiple people, and this is what's going on in your brain with multiple people, all of a sudden you say your brain is starting to malfunction. Like, I feel something for this guy, and I feel something for this girl, and I feel something for all these different individuals. Guys, you're getting super jealous of a girl you broke up with 6 months ago, but you had sex with her. You don't even care about that girl anymore, but all of a sudden now she's with another guy, and now you're just like enraged. Why? Because there's this part of your brain that you had a hormonal bond with. That's real. And that can't be broken. It's a very, very weird thing, right? Vasopressin also activates the reward center in your brain. Now, this makes sense. If I ejaculate and it feels good, I want to do that again. Now, Why does that matter? That means you're drawn back to that person that you had that experience with. Again, context of marriage, that's awesome. Outside of the context of marriage, that's horrible. That's really, really horrible. And that gets even more horrible when we're going to talk about next. And then this is kind of cool. It strengthens your long-term memory. But why would it do that? So it actually reinforces really two things. My care and my emotions for this female are really, really strong. And I actually, not only do I remember how much I care about her now, but I remember things that I cared about her beforehand too. And that stays with you. Actually, it's really, really neat, girls. This is kind of fun. There's something about your husband's brain when you've been married for 30 and 40 and 50 years and you've been having sex with that person for 30 and 40 and 50 years. Their brain literally sees you not in your 50s and 60s, but they see you like you're still in your 20s and 30s.
That's crazy person.
Yeah. Now, like think about old people.
Oh, I'm old.
Not sexually. Your body changes dramatically as you get older. FYI. Okay, I'm not the same human I was 20 years. In fact, you guys saw a picture of me 20 years. Becca and I's 20th anniversary is next week. Y'all saw a picture of me 20 years ago. Right? I was skinnier. I didn't have near the muscle mass. I am a little bit more tubby than I used to be. I have gray hair, and it's all your fault. Especially mine. Okay? My body's changed. Becca's body's changed too. But there's this remarkable thing I can remember distinctly the way Becca looked back then. And part of that is just because of how vasopressin affects your brain. Really, really cool hormone. All right, let's keep rolling. We're going to talk about porn here. And we're going to go over some porn stats, but here's what I want you to catch. Remember what I said? It's specifically about you guys, but this counts for you girls too. Boys, vasopressin, it's released in your brain when you ejaculate. If you are an individual that's been looking at pornography and then carrying that on to masturbation, every time you do that, what you're looking at on that screen, those images get locked in your head with those same kind of contexts that I was just talking about. They're pornographic images that you will remember for the rest of your life solely because of that action. Now, girls, that can happen to you too, but because of the difference in vasopressin, it's more prone to happen in dudes. But here's that mind-numbing stat. In 2019, no, I'm sorry, in 2020, I changed half the stat and changed the other one. In 2020, there was one particular porn webpage that there was over 5.8 billion hours of pornography watched in 1 year's time. That's over 6,500 centuries worth of time. And that's just one of at least the 25 million porn web pages on the internet. That's just one of them.
That's lit.
That's crazy, right? That's a mind-numbing stat to me. Now, again, 2020 was a unique year because that's the year that most of us were stuck at home all the time, right? And so the numbers went up some. But it's not like in 2021 that people were like, oh, okay, I'm done with that now. Like numbers just ratcheted up even higher. It's pretty wild. Go to this next page. Again, a lot of stats here I want you guys to understand. I already told you this once. I want you to hear it again. Average age of exposure to pornography is age 11. We all agree there's no 11-year-old that should be looking at porn, right? Now again, average age, that means there are kids that are younger than age 11 that don't see pornography, or that do see pornography, and there's kids that are older. Again, I wasn't 15 until I saw porn for the first time. So that's what an average means. So on average, most kids have seen porn by age 11. Nothing about that's good. Pornography makes $97 billion every single year. That means that porn every single year worldwide makes more money than the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, professional golf, all of Hollywood, and all of Netflix combined. It is, by the way, and this is sad, you guys know what GDP is? It's called the gross domestic product. The only reason why the state of California beats the state of Texas in gross domestic product is pornography. That's what puts them over the top from us, because a lot of the porn has developed and sold from the state of California. So that's one more minor reason not to look at porn. Every time you look at porn, you're supporting the state of California. Stop doing that, okay? For real. But, no kidding, 41% of teens say they saw porn at school. Not the first time, although there are lots of kids that saw porn for the very first time in school because of these sometimes wonderful, sometimes awesome devices. And I suspect some of you have experienced this. People just walk up, hey, have you seen this picture? Hey, have you seen this video? And by the way, it's not just the lunchroom. Sometimes it's sitting in class. And sometimes Again, it's really, really young kids. Beck and I used to teach 6th graders the abstinence course in school. We would do like the health, like the introduction to sex. 6th graders, so 12-year-olds. And the amount of 12-year-olds, at the end of the thing I'd always do a Q&A, the amount of 12-year-old boys who would say to me, and start a question with this, hey, I was watching this video on Pornhub and they wanted to know, could I really do that? It was awful. And it wasn't one time, every single time I taught that course. And I taught all the schools in Cochise County this course. Every single one of them. Oh, it just made me so sad. All right, keep rolling. 45% of teens, this is still teenagers' life. This is a teen survey. 45% of teens say that porn gives them healthy info about sex. Now you might say, hey, that's less than half of us, so yay. But that's just barely less than half of you. So less than half of your peers would say, yeah, porn kind of gives me a pretty good idea, like how body parts work, how sex is supposed to work. And I promise it's not a good manual. Not even a little bit. 73% of teenagers say that porn depicts what is pleasurable for themselves and for others. Now, the two questions about, hey, is it sinful for me to be violent towards a woman in bed? The answer is no. Inside of marriage or outside of marriage. It's not okay to be violent with a woman, period. It's not okay to be violent, period, whatsoever. But this next stat...
You totally said that.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said, no, it's not a sin to be violent.
Woo! That's why I have my wife here. It is absolutely, where's my camera? It is absolutely a sin to be violent with a woman. Some of your parents are watching right now. Moms and dads, it's bad to be violent in bed. Okay, thank you. The reason why I bring that up, look at this next stat. 1 in 3 porn videos depict violence in bed. 1 in 3. And then look at that one about 52% of girls and about 52% of guys and about 35% of girls view pornography intentionally. I don't mean, again, somebody walks up to you and says, hey, look at this. You didn't mean for that to happen, right? I mean, you sat down and Googled www whatever and went there on your own. That is, especially, some of you might go, well, that's not as many dudes as I thought. Which is great. So you might be thinking that's a lot more girls than I realized. Yeah, a lot of guys are watching porn. A lot of girls are watching porn. By the way, these are the ones just willing to be honest about it. Now, do guys and girls, lots of guys watch porn, lots of girls watch porn. They watch it for different reasons. This is really, really sad. Most conversations I've had with young ladies on why they're watching pornography, they're looking to understand how to please their boyfriends. And they think that what they see in those videos is what their boyfriend wants. Now, this is what gets really, really scary and sad. Boys are watching these videos and they think, oh, this is what makes a girl happy. If 1 in 3 of those videos depict violence against women, what's happening to girls all over the country? And again, like girls your age, it's horrendous. But here's what's so sad, again, because you saw this in a video. You both saw this in a video. You think, this is the way, this is normal. This is the way that it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to like this. And then, girls, when you don't like it, you start to think, gosh, what's wrong with me? The girl in video just loved this, and I hate this. It's because it's not real. It's even more fake than that burger that we watched in the commercial a while ago. And those girls, by the way, physically, they're fake too. By the way, dudes, a lot of their bodies are also fake. Just FYI. Although you should see this next step, 43% of users report viewing things, well, this is interesting too. 43% of users report viewing things they used to think was disgusting. So in other words, you saw a video, you thought, I don't want to see that, that's awful. But now that I've been watching porn for a while, I guess I kind of like that now. Remember what I said about how your brain changes depending on what kind of input you're putting in there? This is what you're doing to your brain. So lots of those hormones that hit your head, you get used to those things, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, somebody give me a song that you used to love and now you're kind of like, that's not a big deal anymore. Baby Shark, there you go. And not just because you've grown up. Maybe like, I've listened to this Taylor Swift song 1,000 times. Man, I used to like go nuts when I heard it. Now it's kind of like, not that I don't like it. It just doesn't get me near as hyped as it used to. So I need a new song. This is what porn does to your brain. But it doesn't just affect your brain this way. It affects the rest of the way your body works too, and how your body responds to things sexually. And so when you see the same picture over and over and over again, I used to like that, I used to like that, now it just doesn't do anything for me. I guess I need to find something else. What porn does is it forces your brain to seek out things that are even more intense, if you want to use that word. And so now all of a sudden people that used to go, I used to think what that person's doing was awful, but now it's kind of exciting. And you just keep moving down the line. It's really, really sad. 90+% of men and women who watch porn, though, you can catch this, they feel dissatisfaction with their own bodies and with the bodies of their partners. Why are they doing that? Because and by the way, it doesn't have to be just porn. Girls and guys too. You can just look at like just the boys from a muscle magazine and feel really, really lousy about yourself because you don't look like that dude in the mirror. Girls, you can look at any kind of magazine or whatever and be sad that you don't look like the girls in that magazine. Or music videos or whatever. Porn ups the ante even more because now all of a sudden you see everything. And you feel really, really self-conscious because fill in the blank, your body part doesn't look like that. Never mind, I can't physically do the thing that girl or that guy's doing. And not only do I dislike my own body, but I also dislike the body of my partner now too, because he can't do or she can't do the thing that they're having in that video. And that's what my brain really wants. We're almost done. 56% of divorces now list porn as one of the reasons for the separation. So over half of divorces in the country, not that porn's the only reason for it, but it's a big part of it. It drives sex trafficking, and what I mean by this, you need to know that a lot of the porn you're seeing is not consensual. You might say, well, hey, it looks consensual. Like, why do they end up in video in the first place? Pornhub specifically gets sued all the time because there's video after video after video uploaded. Sometimes it's called revenge porn. A video that was released of someone else that was either raped or of just someone else that maybe I wanted at the time, but now I don't like that person at all, but it gets uploaded anyway, and people watch those videos all the time. So Pornhub gets sued all the time. Hopefully they're going to get shut down. That would be awesome. It's a terrible company. But there are lots and lots of videos of people who are on drugs, and so it might appear that they're consenting when they are not. There are lots and lots of people who are quote-unquote porn stars that have to get doped up, and they admit this a lot of times after their careers. No, I had to be high all the time to do those things because I just couldn't stand it. But I wanted the money, so I did it. When I say it's driving sex trafficking, watch this. If the porn industry is that big of a deal, people who are very prone to either kidnap girls or try to, and it's usually girls, but sometimes it's guys too, either kidnap girls and take them and force these situations on, or trick girls into this. Hey, you're really pretty. You want to come be a model? Yeah, I want to be a model. That's awesome. Great. Come to my house. We'll do a film with you. And when they get just one or two photos, then they start to blackmail these girls. That happens all the time. It drives sex trafficking all the time. So you watching pornography affects a lot of people that don't want anything to do with that life, but in a very real way. You may not, well, I've never paid for porn. Guess what all those little ads are doing? It's driving it too. Last thing though, it frequently leads to other risque behaviors. So again, you watch a video, I would never do that, but you watch that video enough, well, maybe I would do that. Okay, now I feel like I have to do that. Okay, I've done that. That's not nearly as much fun. Now I need to do this next thing, and this next thing. And I really want to do this with this girl, but she's not willing to let me. But you know what? I saw this video one time, so I'm just going to force myself. And eventually she'll like it because that's how it worked in the video. You keep pushing and pushing and pushing. You got to know that. And again, I'm saying guys a lot, girls, the same is true for you too. Not only the stuff you're willing to do, even sometimes the stuff you're pursuing on your own. All right, let's keep rolling. Again, I know that's not fun. Here's how pornography, in fact, golly, dude, I just looked at the time. That's terrible. Snap a photo of that real fast, and then we're going to keep rolling, okay? Pornography trashes your brain. That's what you got to know. And it reinforces, hey, I did this. I liked it. I want to do it again. I do it again. I feel lousy. I need to feel better. Porn makes me feel better. I do this. I feel lousy. Do it again. Reinforces, reinforces, reinforces. All right, let's keep rolling. I just love this quote. The teenage brain is like a Ferrari engine with Kia brakes. Anybody have a Kia?
No, I wish.
Don't feel bad. Like, Kias are great. But don't imagine, as awesome as your little Kia is, if you put a Ferrari engine in it, do you think your brakes can handle that? By the way, that car you're looking at up top, that's a $2 million car. It's called a Ferrari SP3. Like, this is some of the stuff they race in. Can go crazy fast. It can go almost as fast as your brain can. And then there's that little bitty Kia Forte. Again, nothing wrong with it. That's my kind of car. This is how your brain works. I want to go fast, and I have a whole lot of trouble slowing down. That's that prefrontal cortex thing kicking. All right, keep going. Here's what you got to know. Why is porn wrong? Like, it's not just that porn's bad for the world. It is bad for the world. It is bad for your brain. But you didn't know what Jesus said. Jesus said this. Some of you know this verse. Girls, do not tone out on me just because it starts off with he, because it applies to you too. Jesus said, you've heard it said, don't commit adultery, but I tell you that anyone, that's why that word anyone underlined, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. By the way, Old Testament penalty for adultery, stoning. You get killed till hit by rocks till you die. This is how serious God takes adultery, right? I committed adultery with her heart. If your eye causes you to sin, tear it out. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It's better that you lose one member of your body than your whole body go into hell. That's Jesus. Okay, not Apostle Paul, who says some really wow, that's really hard, Paul. This is Jesus teaching here. Stop lusting after other human beings. Whether it's on a screen or in real life. By the way, if you look at stuff on real screen, you eventually will begin to look at your peers the exact same way. You won't be able to look them in the eyes because you're continually looking at body parts instead. You won't be able to focus in class. It dramatically affects the way that you sleep at night. Never mind all of the guilt and shame that hits you too. But Jesus says, hey, cut it off. So I don't want you to show up at church next week and one of you or a bunch of you wearing eye patches because you ripped your eye out. For real. Hang on, that's what Jesus said. Here's the idea, guys. Put yourselves in situations where you don't allow yourself to do that anymore. So no kidding, some of you may need to get rid of your smartphones. Or maybe you don't need to throw it in the trash. Maybe you just need to stop taking it with you in your bedroom at night. Maybe you need to stop walking down certain aisles in the store. Maybe you need to stop putting yourselves around certain people. Now, is it that phone's fault or that person's fault or that aisle's fault? No, you're the one making the choice. The responsibility is on you. This is why Jesus is saying to you, it doesn't say throw a rock at that person you're lusting after until they die. See, you stop sinning. You stop sinning. Remove the thing that's causing you to sin, not necessarily the person, although you may need to get away from that person. If it's your computer or whatever, get it away from you so that you stop doing this thing that's horrendous, that's bad for your soul. Keep going. Look, there's another set of verses here. 3 of them here. Beloved, I urge you. I love this verse from 1 Peter. Beloved, I urge you as foreigners and exiles. And I'm not a foreigner, I'm an exile. I'm a Texan. This is how the Bible describes us as believers. We no longer belong to planet Earth. We belong in heaven. Heaven is our home. We're just passing through as foreigners. So as foreigners and as exiles, you need to abstain from the desires of the flesh, which war against your soul. These things that are wrecking your faith and causing you to distrust God or causing you to be afraid of God in the first place. Get rid of them. Wage war against them. This next passage from James, I need to look at it over here, it's a little bit different. Each person is tempted when he's lured and enticed by his own desire. Notice, it says in the next verse, hey, God didn't tempt you. You're being enticed by the enemy from things that are already inside of you. So when you're lured and enticed by these things, then desire, when it has given birth to sin, when it's fully grown, brings forth death. This is this idea that like sin's never going to go, okay, that's good. Jordan, you've sinned enough. You're good now. It's going to keep pushing you to do more and more and more and more. Until it could potentially lead to your physical death. It can also lead to spiritual death too. Last one, Colossians chapter 3, verses 5 through 8. Put to death what belongs to your earthly nature. Sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desire, greed, which is idolatry. Remember we talked about that last week. Because of these, God's wrath is coming upon the disobedient. And you once walked in these things when you were living in them. That, hey, like I've saved you to get away from all of this. Again, it's not just sexual morality. All sins, period. I saved you so you could walk away from them. So do it. By the power the Holy Spirit's giving you, walk away. Let's keep rolling. Is sexting a sin? Quick answer is yes. Sexting is absolutely a sin. You got to know that. Okay? And it's also illegal. You got to go check this out. And this is another one. I want you to take a picture of this. You got to know this. Sexting leads to all sorts of unintended consequences in short term and long term. For instance, some people end up seeing this photo you didn't mean for that person to see. People walk around like, my boyfriend would never do that. My girlfriend would never do that. Yeah, they would. It's just like when you say, hey, can you keep a secret? Most people do not keep that secret. They keep it mostly. There's this old joke about keeping a secret just means telling one person at a time. Right? Most people don't keep a secret entirely. So you got to know that if you're sending pictures you don't want, it's probably going to get shared. Then you get humiliated. You might get suspended or expelled. That happens frequently. Your reputation changes. And like, why? I never thought that he would do something like that, but he sure did. Long-term effects. Your image goes viral. Those things again frequently get uploaded to Pornhub and other places. It causes you to change how you reflect on yourself and how you reflect on others. Criminal conviction does happen, guys. If you are under the age of 18, you've got to know this. If you share a photo of yourself, that's illegal. If you have possession of photos of someone who's under the age of 18, that's illegal. That is a crime in the state of Texas. And until you are 18, and by the way, I'm 18, it's fine. No, that person you have pictures of, if they are under the age of 18, that's a crime. And that can land you on the sex offenders list. And that's forever. That does not change. There are people that I know, just because of something they did as a teenager, that their lives are forever changed because of that one thing. You know, that's not fair. I understand, but that's the law. And by the way, that law is there to protect you. Protect you guys. You don't want people running around taking photos of you and sharing them, right? You don't need to be sharing them either yourself. So you got to know that, all right? Look at this next slide. I think this is the one. Oh, now you got to know this, okay? Here's the definition of sex. We're going to talk about sex is consensual. Okay, that's the touching of sexual organs with the intent of receiving and giving pleasure. So you bump into somebody, that's not sex. You intentionally reach out and grab somebody, even if it's on top of their clothing, that's still sexual, okay? Sexual abuse is non-consensual touching of sexual organs. There's lots of things that go with this. So that include kissing, although kissing is like on the bottom of the scale. We'll talk about kissing more either next week or the week after. That continual prepositioning. Someone walks up to you and says, hey, you want to have sex? That's not a crime. Actually, if an adult walks up to you and says, all of you, adult walks up to you and says that, yes, that is a crime. But if someone in your class walks up, hey, you want to have sex? No, it's not a crime. But if they keep asking that, that is sexual abuse. They can be convicted for that. Extortion or blackmail, that either means you force somebody to do something or you say, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. That's blackmail. That's a problem. Sexual remarks about you, so people making comments about body parts on you, whether they're making it up or not, that's irrelevant. Touching someone who's unable to give consent, so if someone's really sleepy or they're passed out or whatever, like, oh, okay, she didn't say no, she didn't say yes. He didn't say no, he didn't say yes. He didn't say yes is the important thing there. That's a big deal. Or filming somebody without consent. This is where some of you know, TJ, you film us without consent all the time. Sexually filming you without consent. That's the key there, okay? So, again, everything that's done, all these done by an adult, that's sexual abuse. Having sex with anyone under the age of 14, you know this, under the age of 14, that is a crime in the state of Texas and all across the United States of America. Even if you're 15, that's a crime. You got to know that. Right? So you don't need to be doing it anyway, but you gotta know too. Keep rolling, we're almost done. Sexual abuse in the Bible. I'm going to give you 3 quick stories. This lady named Dinah. She was the son the daughter of Jacob. She was walking out in the field and a guy raped her. It was awful. Horribly awful. No one saw it. She went home, she told her family member. She had a bunch of brothers. Her brothers proceeded to go to the town where she was raped. And they tricked not just the guy that raped her, they just went varsity and they tricked everyone, every man in that community, and they killed them all. They tricked them into doing a procedure and it made them tired. Long story, you go read it, it's crazy. But she got raped. This is just an instance of in the Bible. I told you about Tamar last week. She's the girl whose half-brother fell in love with her and then raped her, and one of his friends helped him do it. Actually, the girl's dad helped him do it unwittingly. He didn't realize what he was doing. Dad helped her out too. Helped him out too. Yeah, she got raped. In Dina's case, this is really sad. In Dina's case, after the guy raped her, vasopressin hit his head, and he's like, oh, I actually care about this girl now. She didn't want anything to do with him, but his brain said, I need to be with her now. It flipped on Tamar, though. After Amnon raped Tamar, he actually threw her out of the house. Get away from me. You disgust me. It's horrible. Horrible for both girls. Hagar is interesting though. She was the handmaid of Abraham. Or not Abraham, of Sarah. Remember Abraham and Sarah? God said, hey, you're going to have a baby. They had to wait 25 years. Sarah got tired of waiting. And so Sarah says, here, you can have sex with my handmaid. That'll be fine. Give her a baby. We'll claim that baby's our own. Everything will be great. And so here's Hagar. By the way, she didn't have a choice in the situation. Okay, I got to do what my mistress says. So, and Abraham says, okay, that sounds like a great idea to me. That's so stupid. All throughout the Bible, these guys, their wives go, you should have sex with this girl. And they go, oh, okay, if you say so. Morons. Never goes well. Abraham has sex with Hagar. She gets pregnant. She gives birth to a son, and then Sarah gets angry about it. She's now jealous of this woman who's had a baby. And so Sarah kicks this woman out of their lives and literally sends her off into the wilderness with a brand new baby. She has no way to defend herself. She's literally out in the wilderness, and she begins to talk to God because she's about to die. She has no way to protect herself. And there's this beautiful prayer that she prays. And then God actually unveils himself to her via an angel. He says, hey, Hagar, you need to know God sees you. El Roy. You guys know I named my truck El Roy. This is why I did that, right? El Roy, the God who sees. You got to know that's super cool. So with that in mind, here's this. Then we're done. All right? If you've been abused, what do? Speak up. Any of those things I listed earlier, and I'm sure I missed some things too. And I realized by speaking up, that's insanely scary. I've had several of those conversations again with guys and girls too. I wish I could tell you it's easier. It doesn't. It always breaks my heart. It always makes me want to fight, like the person who did that to you guys. Because I love y'all. You're my babies, right? I hate it when that happens. But the best thing for you is to speak up. And I'll help you have conversations with the other people you need that. Because it's like you don't just get to tell me and be like, oh, okay, that's good. We need to talk to mom and dad. Probably need to talk to authorities too. But I'll help you do that. But that's what's best for you in the long term. I promise. So speak up. Know that it's not your fault. It's not. I promise. Again, it didn't matter what you were wearing. It didn't matter where you were. Are there things you can do to lower the risk? For sure. But it's never your fault if somebody assaults you, ever. Know that God loves you deeply and he sees you. El Roy, man, I love that name for God. He sees you. He saw you, what was happening to you. He sees you now. He knows your pain. He cares about you. This next verse we're going to look at in a second is so good. Also, you can ask questions. Picture the guy up there. Some of y'all know Mr. Allen. Allen is one of our youth workers on Sunday morning. Allen is a crimes against children detective. And so when I say, you can ask him questions, sometimes some of you go okay, this happened to me, was this wrong? Was this a crime? And you can always ask Allen questions. And watch this. Here's what's amazing. He might have some follow-up questions for you, but if you walk up to him and say, hey, I've got this friend, and you're really talking about yourself, by the way, he's not an idiot. He knows a lot of times you are, in fact, talking about yourself. But he's not going to interrogate you. He genuinely wants to help you guys. I talked to him on the phone this afternoon. He and Miss Sarah Bowl, they're there to help you. All of you youth workers are. It just so happens he's got a badge and a gun, and he knows how to help you. It's a really, really great dude. So you can always ask questions. Alan's really helpful too. Here's this verse I want you to see. Look at this next verse. This is really cool. You have taken into account my wanderings. This is Psalm 64. I'll confirm that for you. You've taken into account of my wanderings. You've put tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book? Then my enemies will turn back in the day when I call. This I know that God is for me. And God whose word I praise. And the Lord whose word I praise. In God I put my trust. I shall not be afraid. What can man do to me? Did you catch that phrase? Your tears in your bottle. So Jews have this really cool tradition. When they're mourning, they have a bottle in their house. And they will literally, when they cry, they will take the bottle and put it up their eye. And they keep those tears. And women, especially when their husbands die, they'll actually take those bottles of tears and they'll put that bottle of tears at the grave of their husband. Now, it might sound weird, but it's just this idea of, man, I want you to know how deeply I care about you. I've cried these things for you. So when it says that you keep my tears in your bottle, that means that God takes into account every single one of your tears. He cares about your pain. He knows every time you've cried. He sees it and he wants to help. It goes back to that speak up thing. Like there are times when God supernaturally intervenes and it's amazing. But speak up. All right? Okay, I'm going to pray for us. Go home and read John chapter 8. That's the last passage we're going to look at. We'll look at that some other time. Go read it, John chapter 8. Jesus, bless your kids. Thank you for them listening tonight, God. I beg you in Jesus' name, bind away shame on that porn conversation. I know it's very likely several of them have looked at and might be actively looking at porn. Jesus, you can and do forgive that. So help them to know that. Help them to speak up. Help them to get away from that stuff. Help them to encourage their friends to get away from that stuff. And for those that have been harmed, Father, I genuinely pray in Jesus' name that you would make it so clear that you love them, you're with them, you care about them. They didn't do anything wrong and you want to help. Bless every kid in here and help us to bless lots of peers around us who have been affected by this stuff too. We love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, love you guys. See you next week.